Hello, hello. Thanks for stopping by. This is Duskers for Windows, developed by Misfits Addict and released in 2016. This is a science fiction horror strategy game, and I think it's also available on Linux and Mac. I bought this one on Steam, and I'm playing this one on Windows. It's a game that doesn't have a ton of overhead, so you don't need a crazy graphics card to make it run well. I've been playing this one on different machines. I played it on a desktop, a powerful laptop, and also a Microsoft Surface tablet, and it looks great. So I think being able to play a really good PC game on a tablet, that's fantastic. So there's some other benefits to this one. It's got a great look, it's got unique controls, and it's still getting updates every now and again. It also seems to have favorable reviews on Steam, so there's that. Now, before I go much further in this one, I feel like I need to tell you I'm not an expert with this one. I'm 10 hours in, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of this one. I get into a few different ships, and then I do something stupid and I get my drones killed. I'm still learning, and if you're interested in this one, there are plenty of useful how-to videos out there that will help you along this sort of game. I've been using some of them, and it's helped a little bit. So this is a science fiction strategy game, and your goal here is to search and loot derelict spaceships. The horror element is something that just happens, and it's when you're going about your business, you're going to open some door to a room, and as soon as you step inside, something attacks you immediately. And now you're scrambling to keep your drone alive, which is almost completely impossible once you've been exposed to a certain danger. When it happens, it's going to happen fast, it's going to be jarring, and it's kind of horrific. In this one, you need to gather stuff to survive. This is sort of the fundamental premise of this game. You have to gather fuel, scrap, or broken drones maybe that you can fix or take parts from. To do so, you're going to board ships that might or might not have stuff on them for you to gather. And there may or may not be dangers there. Probably there will be dangers, but this is what you're trying to do for this entire game. You're going to go on a ship, you're going to gather what you can, and you're going to get back to your ship. This game is going to end if all of your drones die, or if you run out of fuel, and you can't travel to salvage another ship. There is a useful training level in this one. When you first get it, you're definitely going to want to run through it. It's going to help you with the basic commands, and it's non-threatening. Not like the rest of the game. In this game, you don't use a mouse or a gamepad. Not at all. You just use the keyboard. And honestly, it totally works for this one. It makes me feel like I'm out in space, and this is how I need to navigate things that I can't physically see up close. It's pretty cool. When you start the game, you have your basic interface. You're on a ship, you're in space. And there are these derelict ships around you that you can select and board. Each ship is going to be at a different distance from your current position. And of course, each ship that you could board, it's under a different circumstance. And there's going to be a different dossier explaining the ship. Ships further away are going to make you burn more fuel to get to them. Some ships, of course, are going to be larger than others, and they're going to be differently shaped. Some ships are going to be older than others, and as a result, they might not be very secure. So, you might have a time constraint when you're on board one of these older ships. Basically, the ship might start to implode while you're in it. Some ships are going to have enemies aboard them, and these hopefully you can avoid, or you can destroy them, and you have a few different ways you might be able to do this. You also might be able to blow them out of an airlock, which is certainly fun, but you will lose gathering potential scrap when you do that. The main tool in this game is your ability to control your drones. You're going to use these drones to figure out exactly how to clear a ship, and you can't do it with just one. You will use multiple. Ships are just a series of interconnected rooms. Your job is to just use the skills of your drones. Each drone could have different loadouts and skills. And using these skills, you manipulate the things you can manipulate in the ship to get yourself the best possible outcome. I know that's a little generic, but that's what it is. Your goal is to stay alive and gather fuel, parts, or both. There are two basic views in this game. You have an overhead view mode that looks like a scan view if you were to look top-down into a ship. You're going to get limited colors and basically an outline scan of different objects. The game also has fog of war, so you can only see things within a specific range of where your drones are. If you want to control a drone manually, you do that in this view. You'll press the number of the drone you want, and you can use the arrow keys to move your drone forward, back, or turn. You can also press the spacebar, and you're going to get a more basic view. You're going to see rooms as squares, basically. Rooms are going to have a value. R1, R2, R3, R4. However many rooms are there. Doors between the rooms are going to have their own icon and a value as well. D1, D2, D3, etc. In this view, you do not manually control drones with the arrow keys. Instead, you have a command window and you enter commands for your drones. You build strings of commands to programmatically control their behavior. Once you do this a few times, it's really going to be pretty easy to understand, and I have to say it's a great idea. I could really see this is how you would control things in space. So the commands. There are many different commands you'll use to do your job here. I'm not going to go through all the commands in terms of verbatim, how you type them on screen, but I'm going to describe the type of commands you would use. You're going to use commands to open a door, move a drone to a specific room, return all drones to the exit. Those are probably the most basic commands of just manipulating a ship, but you're going to be opening doors as you go to access various parts of the ship. You're going to be closing doors to try and trap or isolate potential threats as you find them, depending on the abilities of your drones. Not all drones can do everything. You're going to have other things that you can do and will need to do to a ship, things you'll need to do frequently. You're going to probably, or definitely, you're going to have a drone with a generator. You're going to need to plug into a generator port so you can power parts of a derelict ship. Otherwise, you can't access doors or functions. Drones with motion scanners, they can scan rooms for dangers, and you do that before you open a door to that room. If you open a door to a dangerous room, you're going to get your drones destroyed. You also might be able to get a drone that can interface with a computer terminal. If there is power to the terminal, you can log in and you can possibly turn off or on security turrets if they exist. Obviously, you turn them off if you don't want to get yourself shot, but as you're opening and closing doors, you're going to be letting enemies into certain rooms. And if you let an enemy into a room with a turret and you can lock them in that room, you can turn the turret on and that will wipe out the enemy. Very useful. You're going to need to analyze each ship when you board it, and you're going to have to figure out the best way to get in, to get out, and to try to figure out what can you loot along the way. The ships are going to get more complex as you move forward, and before you board, you're really going to want to take a look at what the issues might be with the ship. Is the ship infected? How bad is the ship infected? How old is the ship? Is it in a volatile state? If it's volatile, this means you got to be quick and you got to be wary that the ship is slowly losing integrity. I was on board a ship, and one by one the rooms started to go into a red state as they started to collapse. It is a total scramble when this happens. It's a matter of time before all your drones are destroyed. As soon as you identify what's happening, you have seconds before other rooms start to cascade into failure. It's crazy, and it feels really intense when it happens. In some cases, you can also commandeer a ship you've just cleared. This might increase your ship capabilities, give you more space, which in turn will assist how well you can traverse boarded vessels in the future. This one gets really intense at times, and also the information that you see about a ship before you board the ship, it's not just something you should not pay attention to. It's not just about the ship, but it's possibly a log from a long-deceased captain, maybe describing the issue with the ship or what happened. It's definitely interesting. It really helps give this one a lot of heart and character, but with that information, I've not actually gone far enough into this game to piece any sort of a real thread of a story together. I do believe there is one. I just haven't gotten far enough to understand what that might be. Like I said, I'm about 10 hours into this game, and I honestly don't think I'm going to get really comfortable with this one for another 10 hours. This one is really about you managing your drones well, knowing how to best clear a vessel, and knowing when to abandon a ship. If you press for a full clear every time you go into a ship, I think you're going to get caught eventually. This one also doesn't have individual save points. Basically, you're playing a game, and when you exit the game, it naturally saves it for you. So you can't have multiple save states that you can go back to. You just have to get good at the game. This is a smart game. They did a lot of good work on this one. It's got a lot of character, and it's really unique. I really appreciate this one. Well, that's all I have for Duskers for Windows. Thanks for stopping by to take a look at this one, and I'll catch you on another video.